Hello and welcome to today's Here's to Your Health podcast. I'm Brandy Ruskell, Marketing and Development Coordinator at Crawford County Memorial Hospital. And our guest on today's podcast is Don Lunsman. Don's the Executive Director of Marketing and Development. So hi, Don.
Well, good morning, Brandy.
Good morning. Before I announce our topic today, I want you to know that this has nothing to do with your age and everything to do with you being a well of knowledge.
Well, it actually does have something to do with my age because I am an older American.
So today's topic is Older American Month, which takes place every May. So Don, exactly what is Older American Month?
Well, Older American Month started in 1963. President John F. Kennedy is the one who actually got the ball rolling on this thing. And what's interesting about that is when this thing was signed into, it wasn't really signed into law, it was just a proclamation that he made. But I was 4 years old when he did this back in 1963, which to me is, time flies when you're having fun, right? So here I am, all these years later, and I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy that now I'm one of the older Americans. But really, it's an observance that is really one that's based off of what is good for the health and well-being of older Americans in the United States. Not to say that older Americans today are forgotten, because I don't believe that's true. But if you think about 1963, different time, different place, and then I think there were lots of other kinds of issues that were going on. But right now, the important thing to know about Older Americans Month is that for a lot of our seniors, the difficult problem they have is socialization. And so the theme for Older Americans Month this year is Powered by Connection, and it really is about how do we create meaningful relationships for older Americans, and how does that contribute to their well-being?
Was there a particular reason that Older Americans Month was created?
Yeah, again, if you go back to 1963, it was a different time, a different place, but back then a lot of older Americans didn't even live to be age 65. So if you got past the age of 60, everybody thought that was a tremendous milestone. And we'll talk about demographics here later, but being 60 years of age now isn't quite as big of a deal as it used to be back in the day. So which is why I get to be an older American and talk about it, because I'm actually in way better shape than any of those folks were back in 1963. But if you think about this, only 17 million Americans actually reached their 65th birthday in 1963. That was a small percentage, less than 5% of all of the population in the United States managed to live beyond the age of 65. It says a lot about our medicine. It says a lot about what we've been able to do in healthcare. It says a lot about technology, that we can help people live a much longer and a much fuller life these days. But that's why Older Americans Month is really important. In 1963, lots of older Americans lived in poverty. There were very, very few programs that would meet their needs, and the concern about how do we take care of our parents and grandparents, that's what really was the driving force behind that. But again, that was 1963. Things have changed tremendously today.
So your definition of older American compared to mine or someone in their teens is probably different. What does the ACL consider older?
Yeah, kind of interesting. The Administration for Community Living is the group that actually puts this together. It's a branch of the federal government. And when they brought this program into being back in 1963, 60 was considered older. 60 was considered older. But it's because so many people didn't make it to 65. They never got to the point where they could actually collect their Social Security. Mm-hmm. And health and welfare being what it is, I think what's important to understand is that 60 today is not nearly the age that you would have seen back. So today, people who are 60 years old are relatively in good health. Most are in relatively good health. Some are not. But more and more people are living to the age of 60 today than ever before. And in fact, if we take a look at the demographics, people ages 85 and older are estimated to triple from 6.6 million just a couple of years ago to almost 15 million by 2040. Now, some of those people are boomers like me. Some of those are Xers. So what you're going to end up with is kind of a mix of generations. But I'm telling you that people are going to live a lot longer. The key to this whole thing, though, in order to be able to keep people healthy, is to figure out a way to help them manage their stress levels, eat properly, get enough exercise, and really do the kinds of things that help them manage their stress.
So what are some of the things that older Americans should be paying attention to as they age? I mean, you mentioned stress and community relationships.
Really, from my perspective, as I get older, here's the one thing that I know. Routine is a huge deal. And I've talked to people, friends of mine who have already retired, who tell me one of the tougher things about retiring in the first 6 months was trying to figure out, what do I do today? Because it is an expansive time that stretches out before them. They literally, without getting up and going to work every day, without having that routine of getting up, going to work, having lunch, going back to work, and coming home and eating dinner, and so on and so forth, now they have this huge expansive time and they don't know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. So this is why you see people who gravitate toward coffee or they're looking for the socialization that they used to get through work. I think really routine is a huge part of being able to grow old well. So if you can figure out how to create a routine for yourself, that really is a big thing. And then, the other thing that ends up happening is if you feel good when you get up to age 60, 65, if you're feeling well, you tend to not pay a whole lot of attention to your health. But I think that's when you need to start spending more time on it. You need to do things like participate in the community wellness event that we have going on in June 12th and 13th. By the way, we still have appointments available. Go online, www.ccmhia.com, click on the wellness event link and go get yourself an appointment and get your blood work done. But just taking care of your health, checking in with your physician, getting exercise, watching what you eat. I think all of those things are really important. I do think, though, that some of that stems from the fact that when you are older and you do have a huge amount of time on your hands, and the stress, and the lack of socialization, people do turn to things like television. If you're watching television all day, what are you probably doing? You're not getting any exercise. If you're not getting any exercise, you're probably eating. It's a cycle, it's a spiral, and unfortunately a lot of instances it's a spiral downward for an awful lot of people who have retired who just can't seem to figure out how to make retirement work well for them.
Right, we've talked about my dad has retired, so he retired in October, and now his life is completely different because from the age of 15 he was working. He had his days set out for him. He knew he had to go to work every day, and now he's got all this time on his hands. He's working through the YouTube library.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you have to find something to fill your time. And I'll give you an example of my family. So I have two sisters who are older than I am. One is 73, the other is 74. Both of them would tell you that retirement is a great thing, but I would tell you that both of them suffer from really serious health issues and have for at least 10 years. So, retirement is enjoyable. First of all, a friend of mine once told me that if you don't have money when you retire, that's kind of a tough place to be because you kind of need it. But he also said you can have all the money you want, but if you don't have your health, you really don't have anything. And I think that's, both of them are well off. They're not worried about money, but without their health, their quality of life is not, I think, what they would like it to be.
Mm-hmm. And what sorts of support or other activities can older Americans engage in to stay active?
I think the big thing is to volunteer. Find somebody that you can volunteer with. Here at Crawford County Memorial Hospital, we have a significant number of volunteer opportunities. You can come be a driver or a hostess for our patient transportation service. It's a really meaningful thing that you can do that helps people get to where it is that they need to go. We have the gift shop here at the hospital. You get an opportunity to see people. You get an opportunity to continue to use the job skills perhaps that you had gained while you were in your working years, or maybe you learn some new things, which is always good. Learn new things. Read a book, get some exercise, go for a walk. Find somebody that you can spend some time with that you enjoy. The biggest part of this is that if you can create and maintain relationships, and I realize that people spend a lot of time with family, and that's a good thing. Spend time with your kids and your grandkids, but more often than not, that's not quite enough. You need other people your age who grew up with the same experiences and the same background that you do. Go find somebody like that, that you can have as a buddy, a friend, a pal, because I think that's really important in life. I always like to think that walking a solitary path in life, that happens. There are people who choose that for themselves. But more often than not, we need to have a buddy. We need to have somebody that we walk hand in hand down that path with. So, ask around. Maybe you know some people. Maybe you can volunteer at church or at school or the library, or maybe there are other opportunities out there that we're not talking about today. All I know is that if you can get involved and stay involved, either through volunteerism or through your church or whatever the case might happen to be, I think you can live a much more meaningful and fulfilling life after the age of 60.
And for those that might be feeling disconnected or not feeling well, how can they connect to others?
One of the issues that we talk about a lot within the hospital is mental health. And there's a big reason for that. One, I think we're seeing more mental health issues today in the clinic, in the emergency room, in the hospital, just in the community in general than we ever have before. And some of that obviously is being induced by drugs or alcohol, but in a lot of instances that's not the case. We just have people who struggle to be able to make some sense out of the life that they happen to be living. If you're feeling disconnected from other people or disconnected from life in general, the very first call you need to make is to your primary care provider, medical provider, whoever that might happen to be. If you need one, you don't have one, you can call us at CCMH Medical Clinic. That number is 712-265-2700. Make an appointment. Come see somebody. There may be a physical reason why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. And you need to understand that sometimes, even though you say there's no reason I should feel this way, there may be some sort of physical issue that could be creating that. Maybe it's a hormone problem, or maybe it's an electrolyte problem, or maybe it's some other enzyme problem. Who knows what it could be? Human body is complicated and it's got lots of different facets to it. But that's the first thing I think you need to do is to talk to your primary care medical provider just to see if there are other things that are at play. But then you need to stay in touch. Don't isolate yourself from other people. Spend some time with other folks, but find a hobby. Go play golf. If you've never learned how, find somebody to teach you how. Take up sewing. I don't care if you're sitting at home and you're 6'3" and you have a full beard. Go figure out something. Go find something to do. Just sitting there in front of the television every day is not going to get you to the point in your life that you want to be. Get involved, stay active, do the things you need to do, eat a good diet. But more than anything else, just make sure that if you're feeling off or if something doesn't feel right, you go talk to somebody. Don't sit at home and think the worst. Let's find out if in fact that's true, because a lot of times what we think is the worst is not, and we can treat it easily, and very quickly we can get you back on track.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time I'll take up from you today. So thank you, Don, for sharing your insight and your wisdom.
Entirely my pleasure. Now that I'm an old American, I'd like to talk about being an older American more often.
But again, for our more seasoned listeners, we would encourage you to stay active and prioritize your health. We have certified dietitians. We have a chronic care management team. We have other health experts who are here to help with any concerns you might have. So again, I'm Brandy Ruskell, your host for today's Here's to Your Health podcast. We've been talking with Don Lunsman, Executive Director of Marketing Development. Thank you for listening.